Hi again. So today, me and my team will be presenting our mind map, which will focus on the issue which were stated by the MTUC to summon the employers and the trade union to cooperate and to tackle the COVID-19 outbreak. Me and my team will be discussing more about this issue in this video.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat sejahtera. My name is Nadeem and I'm going to talk about the issues of MTUC, that is employers, trade union need to cooperate to tackle COVID-19 outbreak. Firstly, I would like to introduce what is COVID-19. COVID-19 or coronavirus disease 2019 is an infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. It was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. It resulted in an ongoing pandemic. As of 3rd June 2020, more than 6.41 million cases have been reported across 188 countries and territories, resulting in more than 380,000 deaths. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. The best way to prevent and slow down transmission is be well informed about the COVID-19 virus, the disease, its causes, and how it spreads. Protect yourself and others from infection by washing your hands or using an alcohol-based rub frequently and not touching your face. The COVID-19 virus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs or sneezes. So it's important that you also practice respiratory etiquette, for example, by coughing into a flexed elbow. At this time, there are no specific vaccines or treatments for COVID-19. However, there are many ongoing clinical trials evaluating potential treatments. Secondly, based on the article, there is an urgent need between employers and trade unions to cooperate to settle any arising issues from COVID-19. The Secretary General is appointing some opinion on how to control the outbreak, that is, reinforce sick leaves policies. Employees should reinforce sick leave policies and encourage employees to stay at home if they are feeling ill to the extent that is feasible. Secondly, that is limiting business travel. They should also consider limiting business travel to affected areas at this time and arrange for video conferencing. Thirdly, the content of this mind map is relating the arising issues of this pandemic outbreak that affecting employers and employees' rights, and suggestion on how to curb the spread of the disease.
Now, we will be discussing and identifying the issues contained in the article. Firstly, we will identify on the related concept of industrial relation in the article. The first concept that the article had mentioned on is the collaboration between trade union and employers. This urgency of this collaboration was caused by the raising concerns of the employers' rights because of the global economic problem that surely could affect the rights drastically. This collaboration was caused by the raising concerns of employees' rights because of the global economic problem that surely could affect the rights drastically. The discussion between the trade union and employers is essential when solving the issues, making it easier to analyze issues and addressing them effectively. From those concepts, it also arose the concept on the trade union's function in these kind of matters. Some of the function portrayed in the article is their responsibility to give ideas and to give ideas on solving employees' issues. They also act as an assistant on or advisor to the employers in dealing in deciding alternatives in managing the workers in many disputes. Proceeding to the problems and issues discussed in the article, it started with the outbreak of the COVID-19 where it has affected the global economy, thus causing a chain reaction and affecting the employment, especially in our country. This had raised the call for employers to take action in securing their employers' position and assisting the employment from decreasing throughout the outbreak. Surely, different employers from different industries will take different measures in their action. The article also stated on the Malaysian Trade Unions Congress, which is the MTUC statement, where there must be a frequent engagement between employers and trade unions to ensure that the disease and the resulting fear is contained. MTUC had suggested alternatives to employers to encourage their workers to stay at home and continue their work from home. Based on the issues that we analyze, parties who are involved in the issue is the MTUC, who acts as the trade union that suggests ideas on helping employers manage employees so that they can exercise their rights. The second party is certainly the employers, who will manage the problems faced by the employees by implementing policies that correlates with the employers' rights and the health measures made by the government.
Hello everyone, today we are going to discuss about the topics that are related to the article and the chapter in our subject. The concepts that related between the industrial relation and the article is obviously about the industrial relation concepts, like the Trade Union Act 1959 in lecture 7, the topic of collective bargaining in lecture 9, and lastly the Employment Act in lecture 12 and lecture 13. First and foremost, most of the time the employer and employee will have a physical contact at their workplace. During this COVID-19 outbreak, we are highly recommended for not having any physical contact towards each other. So what do they need? Yes, to find a solution. How? By having collective bargaining, which is negotiation with a view to the conclusion of a collective agreement. Yes, it is to protect employers' welfare, avoid unilateral decision, improve wages and conditions of works and employment among employees, and many more. We will be thinking about how do the people can survive if they have been sacked from their company. In this particular situation, we can refer to the Trade Union Act 1959 that explains about the rights and liabilities of trade unions, which is disputes, funds, property, regulation, and also we will refer to the Industrial Relations Act 1967 that speaks about the protection of rights of workmen and employer and many more. Based on the article, they are giving flexibility to the people by allowing employers and employees to work from home, limiting business travel to affected areas such as China and any other places that have a higher number of infected. So to conclude, the issues highlighted here is the engagement between employer and trade unions, sick leave policies, flexibility, health initiative, and also lastly the Section 15 Occupational Health and Safety Act 1994. Thank you.
Suggestion and recommendation to manage the issue discussed. Salary reduction as an alternative to retrenchment. Employers need employees' consent. Imposing salary reduction requires employers to obtain their employees' consent. Employers should avoid unilateral salary reduction. Unilateral means decision made without the interference by employees, because this may be viewed as a breach of contract, which can give rise to a claim of unfair dismissal. Unfair dismissal is a failure of employer to justify the ground for dismissal may result in a complaint of unfair dismissal. However, certain categories of situations allow termination. For example, poor performance, misconduct, and redundancy. Employers need to communicate transparently. Communicate transparently about the reasons of salary reductions and explain that it is the attempt to prevent more drastic actions such as retrenchment. However, employer also need to consider a corresponding reduction in working hour to justify salary reduction. Do a consultation first. Employer needs to do a consultation or any salary reductions because it is essential and must be made to avoid disputes. Because if employer impose salary reduction without proper discussion, employee's complaint might turn to grievance one his or her unions willing to represent the worker. With salary reduction, unnecessary retrenchment doesn't have to be done. Suggestion for the welfare of employees. Environment and physical consideration supply that is needed. In order to curb the spread of the disease, employer should have provide enough supply. Employer needs to plan what supplies is needed to facilitate smooth return to work while and after this MCO period. Employer needs to protect their workers and their work environment in order for harmonious relations to exist. Direct negotiation can be made. Just in case of a dispute, trade union of employees can discuss with the employers upon providing employees with safety policies and necessities equipment for safety measure. What supplies is needed? Employers should pre-order the required item because it can save some shipping time. Example of an item that employees need in this COVID-19 pandemic is face mask, hand sanitizer, and cleaning equipment. For example, for cleaners who directly exposed to highly contaminated area in the workplace. Employers have to constantly evaluate the work environment requirements for safer return to work in allowing the employees to minimize their time spent by considering which supplies needed the most to prevent COVID-19. Worker doesn't have to spend unnecessary delay on getting face masks and etc. and etc. as those items most probably out of stock for local retailer. This delay may happen when workers are ordering the item from another country.
So the conclusion is the employer of the organization have to be more considerate and tolerant towards their employees during this COVID-19 outbreak, using work from home method if it's necessary. Employee must know how to act and know their rights towards their employers. Employers must maintain the welfare of their employees during this pandemic period and cannot simply fire their worker as it is unlawful.
That's all from us, and thank you.